Hello and welcome. I am Nitin Gokhale, and today I'm going to talk to you about the Big Bang defense reforms that Finance Minister Nirmala Sitharaman has announced about an hour ago. Remember, she was Defense Minister for a brief period until 2019. Exactly 1 year ago, she was Defense Minister. So she knows exactly what she's talking about. But this is a whole of government approach. The government has come up with multiple steps to boost the defense industry in India. And all this has been in the works for some time. But I think the government has found an opportunity in the crisis brought about by COVID-19 pandemic. And what are these Big Bang reforms? So let me begin with two big steps that the government has taken. One is, of course, to increase the foreign direct investment in defense ventures in India from 49% to 74% via the automatic route, which means anyone who wants to invest in Indian defense companies or Indian defense ventures or start a defense venture, a joint venture in India, a foreign investor can invest up to 74%, which should bring in a substantial amount of money, since the Indian defense market and the Indian defense industry is growing. The needs of the Indian armed forces are growing. So there is this big step that is happening, which has been brought by the government. The second is the preparation of a negative list of items that will be banned from import. So many platforms and weapons and some other items that the armed forces required in large numbers will now have to be compulsorily manufactured in India by Indian defense companies or joint ventures with foreign original equipment manufacturers. So, for instance, from what I know, at least two items, big items, are now being banned. Certain types of artillery guns required by the Indian Army will not be imported. They will be allowed to be manufactured by Indian defense majors, which includes Bharat Forge, includes L&T, Larsen and Toubro. It will include even the Ordnance Factory Board, which has its own gun, which has been designed and prototype is ready. So some certain types of guns, artillery guns, have been banned from being imported. About 7 or 8 types of ammunition required by Indian armed forces will now be manufactured in the Indian defense industry. They will not be allowed to be imported. Of course, it does not mean, and let me make this very clear, that it does not mean that the imports will cease completely or imports will not be taking place because there is no point. It's not of any use to say that we will ban all imports. Certain critical equipment, critical platforms, combat jets, for instance, or even ships in some cases, or some high-tech items which will have to be imported, but their numbers, their quantity will be limited. So that's a major step that the government has taken. The third major step that the government has announced today is the corporatization of the factories of the Ordnance Factory Board. Remember, there are 50 plus factories that the Ordnance Factory Board owns, and these factories or Ordnance Factory Board have not been measuring up to the requirements of the Indian Armed Forces, and therefore there have been perpetual complaints about OFB not measuring up to manufacturing ammunition in time, or the quality of ammunition has suffered. It has not done any big substantial manufacturing for Indian Armed Forces for some time. So I'm told that at least 15 of the OFB factories are up for corporatization, and not exactly privatization. They are being corporatized for more efficiency, more accountability. The details are, of course, in the finer print. We will come to know soon. But the government has decided to bite the bullet. All these years, the government used to be afraid of labor unions. As Rishikesh Kurhekar is asking me this question about corporatization of OFB. I think, let me say this to begin with, that the government is no longer afraid of taking on the unions. and they will, of course, discuss it with unions. They will discuss it with the labor unions and the officers unions and the employees unions. But the government is determined to corporatize, make it more efficient, make it more accountable, because accountability has been missing. For instance, when armed forces needed some electronic fuses to the tune of say 60,000 a year, or 6 lakh a year, the OFB has been delivering only 1/10 of that quantity required in a year. I'm just giving a hypothetical example, hypothetical but real example, in a way that one item that the artillery units keep requiring, the OFB has not been measuring up to that task. So now OFB's efforts will be supplemented by private sector ammunition units, which have come up in India over the last few years. That's a major step that the government has taken. Another major kind of drain on India's revenue budget had been the cost of spares, which used to be procured from original equipment manufacturers from Russia, from Czechoslovakia, from US, from France, and these spare parts used to be priced exorbitantly over the years. And of course, there was no guarantee that when Indian Armed Forces required them, that the spare parts will be available. So now, in the major step, government has decided to indigenize spare parts manufacturing. That means spare parts required for all the existing platforms and weapons that the Indian Armed Forces use will be gradually moved to India, whether in a joint venture or by the original equipment manufacturer itself, is something that, of course, is not clear yet. But gradually it will move to India, which will bring down the cost, and it will give control to the armed forces to have the spares coming up there. I can see one more question on FDI from Aniket Singh, who says, why not 100% FDI? Well, I'm not qualified to answer that question. We'll have to ask that question to the people who have decided to take this step. It's a gradual process, I guess. Remember, we have come a long way from 26% FDI to 74% FDI. Give it some more time. I'm sure it will become 100% when required. Vijay Kadam is asking me about MMRCA 2.0. I think the writing is clear. Writing on the wall is very clear that the government does not have enough money to procure 114 combat jets for the Indian Air Force from foreign vendors or foreign manufacturers who are in competition. That tender is, the RFI is out, the RFP is out rather, the tender is out, but there's no decision taken on that. Government has decided to go for 83 LCAs, the light combat aircraft manufactured in India by the HAL, designed by the Aeronautical Development Agency. To my mind, the big bet the government is doing is to go for AMCA, the Advanced Medium Combat Aircraft, which is in the works. And 10 years down the line, maybe AMCA will become a major component of the Indian Air Force inventory going forward. So MMRCA is, I think, in a limbo, at least for the time being, given the budgetary constraints that the government has. Another important step before I go to answer other questions, if they come, is that government has decided to now have a separate budget for procurement of domestic procurement or procurement from domestic manufacturers. Earlier, if there was 100 rupees available for capital procurement, that means new buy or new purchase, that the Indian manufacturers and original equipment manufacturers from abroad used to compete for that pie of 100 rupees. Now the budget heads will be separated. The defense capital procurement from Indian companies will have a separate allotment. Of course, it will be from the same pie, but it will be a separate budget which will be given to defense, I would say, defense manufacturers in India. There is also a step taken to create a project management team along with the contract negotiating team, so that the efficiency of decision making and the timeline of decision making after the tenders are decided will really improve going forward. Also, there'll be realistic GSQR, the General Staff Qualitative Requirements, which used to be, very idealistic, utopian. And the government has decided that to encourage Make in India and to encourage Indian defense companies, also to meet the deadlines, the GSQRs must become realistic, and that has been mentioned in this notification that has come today. As I go forward, I can see two or three more questions. Somebody has asked, Ajay Joseph has asked, please differentiate between corporatization and privatization. But Ajay, I'm sorry, I'll have to get more details, and this is not the time to talk about it. But certainly, the ownership will continue to remain with the government of India, and therefore, this is called corporatization and not privatization. I think for the beginning, at least, or for the moment, I can tell you that. Also, Apurva Mayavanshi has asked whether this means the end of Athos artillery deal with Israel. Well, I'm not sure, because since the deal has been decided, or has people have spoken about it, or is in the advanced stage, I think some guns will come from them, and the rest of the requirement will be met domestically. Mohit R. Manu has asked, can you tell us about tour of duty? Well, that falls in a different domain, but when I do next program, I will be speaking about and writing about the tour of duty proposal put up by the Army headquarters, which is under discussion right now. But before I take the other questions, and I'll tell you about two more steps, please don't forget to like us on our social media handles, on Twitter handles of Strat News Global and bharatshakti.in, our Facebook pages of both the websites, of which I am the founder and the editor-in-chief, and of course the YouTube channels of both the websites, which needs more subscribers like you who are interested in quality journalism, and of course informative journalism that we strive to bring to you. So do follow us on all these social media handles, all the Facebook page, the Instagram pages that we have, Instagram handle that we have, the Twitter handle that we have, Twitter handles rather that we have, and of course my own Twitter handle, which you know is Nitin Gokhale. Let me go two steps, at least one more thing let me talk about is, of course, the government's decision to improve the efficiency of the trials and testing infrastructure, which means they had already taken the steps to allow private players to have testing facilities for guns, for ammunition, for every equipment that the armed forces eventually buy has been privatized partly. That, like Rishikesh Kurekar is still again asking, it's allotted 400 crores for testing facilities. Do you know where this money will be utilized? As we don't have jet engine testing and critical tech testing facilities, they're going to come up, Rishikesh, and that's why this money has been allocated. And as going forward, we'll have more details coming up. Radhakrishna Sharma has asked, do we know the age limit of tour of duty? No, we still don't know. At least I still don't know. I will try and figure out and let you know. But I was going to talk about something not exactly related to, or which is related to both airspace management and defense. The government has decided to free the airspace reserved for, at least part of the airspace reserved for the Indian Air Force or for the defense forces, and give it to civil aviation, because civil aviation is expanding rapidly. It's going to be in great demand going forward after we come out of the COVID-19 pandemic, and therefore the government has decided to free the defense airspace. What does it mean really in practicality? Let me give you an example. I am from Pune. Whenever I tried to go to Pune from Delhi, the flight used to take or is right now taking about 2 hours flying time, or 1 hour 50 minutes flying time from Delhi to Pune or Pune to Delhi. Now, as the crow flies, or as the straight line comes from Pune to Delhi on the map, if the flight had come on that straight line, the flight should take 20 minutes less than the current flying time. But it does not. It takes those extra 20 minutes because the flight from Pune has to first come to Mumbai and then take the trunk route going from Mumbai to Delhi, the air route which is designated for civil flights. And the same thing while going from Delhi to Pune. It first comes from Delhi to Mumbai, and then from Mumbai it goes to Pune instead of going straight to Pune from Delhi. So that will save substantial amount of money in fuel, because you are saving 20 minutes of flying time. The engines, jet engines of the aircraft will have more flying time at their disposal, which will because they have to be rehauled every 1,000 hours, they have to be repaired and maintained every 1,000 hours. Now this will add more to the efficiency, and it will be substantial cost saving to the airlines, the civil airlines or the private airlines that are flying between, or even Air India, between Pune and Delhi and vice versa. The estimate is that it will save at least 1,000 crores, 1,000 crores a year to all companies put together, which means in these distressing time, these difficult economic condition, 1,000 crores is a big saving. So some of these things that the government has done are real big bang reforms, and therefore one must congratulate the government for biting the bullet on what it has done. This was the first take that I did quickly, so that I thought I'll share my thoughts with the people who have joined this broadcast. But I have another broadcast coming up, a live session on recalling Elam War 4, which ended 11 years ago on 18th of May, when the Sri Lankan military won a victory over the LTTE. And that's coming up on the YouTube channel and the Strat News Global channel. You can watch it there. You can fire your questions there. In another maybe 45 minutes, I'll be live on that topic. But this topic was important, so I thought first I will come up with this. As more information is available, I will come up with more detailed explanation and maybe a write-up or an article. But for the moment, let me say goodbye and thank you for watching. Do keep liking us on our social media platforms. Keep sending feedback, and we will of course keep coming and engaging with you on in this manner as today. I am getting Rajendra Chodankar, who's one of our old friends. He says, very true. We carried an optimistic approach. He is, I'm told, over the hill, over the moon rather. With excitement, because everything that he wanted as an MSME owner in defense has been granted by the government. So we'll have a separate chat with him. My colleague Nilanjana Banerjee had a chat with him. It's available on Bharat Shakti YouTube channel, where he's spoken about how optimistic he is. So do visit us on the YouTube channel, subscribe to us on all these channels, and we'll be happy to engage with you again. For the moment, it's goodbye, and thank you for watching.